Just like every day, Off wakes up late. He drags himself into the bathroom and starts brushing his teeth when suddenly a ghost shows up. The ghost tries different tricks to scare Off. Annoyed, Off punches the ghost right in the face. The ghost starts crying and says, "Why are you so rude? I actually came here to ask for your help." Off gets even angrier, and the ghost panics and runs away. The story moves to Off's college life. Off studies at a medical college. One afternoon, after class, he's sitting on the field when he sees a girl named Namwan. He freezes. It's love at first sight. But Off doesn't have the guts to confess to someone as beautiful as Namwan, so he just watches her from far away. Meanwhile, two juniors from Off's college come up with a wild plan to go viral on social media. They make videos in different places, pretending there are ghosts around them, and acting like they can feel paranormal activity. Their videos are totally fake. One day, after finishing a ghost prank video and going home, they see a notice hanging on their apartment door. They haven't paid rent for months. If they don't pay within a week, the landlord will kick them out. But they don't have that kind of money. The two sit together, stressed, trying to think of a plan. Suddenly, they see a poster. It says a girls' school has been having ghost problems. Seeing a chance to earn money, they don't waste a second. That same night, they go straight to the school. The place is so quiet and creepy that fear sinks into their hearts. What if there really are ghosts here? Still, they gather some courage and walk inside. Suddenly, a dark shadow-like ghost jumps out and scares them. They run for their lives. Off's uncle used to be just like Off. He could see ghosts too. He used to help people get rid of spirits and took money for it. But he stopped doing all that a long time ago. That day, Off goes to his uncle's house. Off cooks his uncle's favorite food. His uncle says, "I really like sushi. From now on, bring sushi for me." After dinner, just when Off is about to sleep, he gets a message from a girl. She offers him a lot of money and gives him the name of a college. She says, "There's a ghost in this college. We want to get rid of it. I'll pay you whatever you want." Off can't resist the money and agrees right away. The next night, Off goes to that college. He looks around for the ghost when suddenly he bumps into a female ghost. Off starts fighting her. The ghost fights back. Then Off notices something: the girl ghost is actually very beautiful. If she were alive, lots of guys would probably be chasing her. The girl ghost beats Off and throws him out. But Off isn't a quitter. Before leaving, he says, "I'll be back, and next time I'll teach you a lesson." Off goes home and tells his uncle everything: how a girl ghost beat him up. His uncle gives him some tips on how to defeat her. The next day, Off goes back to the college. As soon as she sees him, the ghost starts fighting again. During the fight, they accidentally fall down a staircase. Off holds the girl ghost tight as they fall. Seeing Off so close suddenly reminds her of the day she died. She remembers having an accident, lying in the middle of the road covered in blood, while people ran toward her. As Off stands up, she snaps out of her thoughts. When Off says sorry, she gets even angrier. No ghost is okay with someone getting that close. She doesn't forgive him. Instead, they start arguing and fight all over again. Those two juniors also return to the same college to look for ghosts. While searching, they reach the restroom area and suddenly see a ghost. Just when the ghost is about to attack, they start running. The ghost is actually a college professor who was extremely unhappy with his life. People used to insult him because of his long hair and strange behavior. He couldn't take it anymore, so one day he killed himself in the college restroom. That's why his spirit still wanders around the campus. Now the professor ghost is chasing the two juniors again. While they're running, they bump into Off. Off joins them, and they all jump into an elevator. The ghost follows them and grabs Off. Off fights desperately and barely manages to get inside the elevator. But a little distance away, the girl ghost is standing still, looking at Off like she's asking for help. Off starts worrying about her. The moment they reach the ground floor, the professor ghost attacks the girl ghost. She tries to protect herself, but Off suddenly shows up like a hero. Off fights the professor ghost. The ghost is incredibly strong. He easily throws Off aside. Off can't keep up. Just then, the girl ghost notices a red glowing spot on the professor ghost's neck. Maybe that's his weak point. She signals Off to hit it. Off follows her lead and hits that spot. The ghost disappears, and they escape. Then Off tells the girl ghost, "A lady told me to come here and defeat this ghost. She offered me a ton of money, but I couldn't find her name, her address, nothing." Hearing that, the girl ghost becomes nervous. From her strange behavior, Off realizes she was the one who called him to fight the professor ghost. Off demands money from her, but just by looking at her, it's clear she doesn't have any. In the middle of talking, she says, "My name is Jin. I created a fake account and messaged you." Off says, "Don't ever follow me again." As soon as he steps outside the old college, he sees police waiting for him. Since Off made so much noise, the neighbors complained. The police arrest him and take him to the station. When his uncle hears the news, he goes to the station, gets Off out of jail, and brings him home. His uncle says, "I told you again and again not to get involved in ghost business, but you never listen. I better not see you ghost hunting ever again." Jin was talking to one of her friends, and that friend is dead too. Jin tells her everything, how getting close to Off suddenly made her see the moment she died. The friend says, "Since getting close to Off helped you remember parts of your death, you should get close to him again. That way you might finally see what really happened to you." Jin likes the idea, so she starts following Off all the way to his college. When she gets there, she tries to hug him, but Off pushes her away. Jin keeps chasing Off and even follows him home, annoying him nonstop. She keeps asking Off to hug her again. Off gets irritated, scares Jin, and throws her out. Meanwhile, those two juniors are watching the footage they recorded at the college that night. They see that Off can actually fight ghosts. They make a plan no matter what. They need Off on their team. The next day, Off is eating lunch at college when Jin shows up. Jin tells him, "If you want, you can share your lunch with me." Off says, "No way. How can a ghost even eat food?" Jin says, "If you feed me from your heart, I can eat just fine." But Off ignores her. Right then, the two juniors appear. They ask Off to join their team. But Off is already getting a lot of money for ghost work, so he turns them down and goes back to his class. In class, the professor gives Namwon a homework assignment that requires a partner. Jin looks at Off's face and knows he likes Namwon. So Jin lifts Off's hand in front of everyone. The whole class thinks Off is volunteering to be Namwon's partner. As soon as class ends, Off storms out, angry at Jin's behavior. Off does like Namwon, but he's always been too scared to talk to her. Jin tries to explain that this was actually good for Off. Right then, Namwon comes over and says to Off, "Thank you for being my partner." This is the first time Off talks to Namwon directly, and he completely melts. He forgets he was even arguing with Jin a few minutes ago. The scene shifts to the two juniors' apartment. They're trying to hack an account named Sadako because that account keeps sending them weird messages and posting rude comments under their paranormal videos. Suddenly, the lights go out. When they walk outside their door, they see a notice board. Since they haven't paid the bills in a long time, the landlord cut their power. With no other choice, they decide they're going to earn money through paranormal activity and pay the bills. Their plan is simple: get Off on their team, no matter what. Meanwhile, Off's uncle goes to a big hotel to catch a ghost. Even though he stopped doing this work long ago, someone begged him for help, and he couldn't say no. Off's uncle talks to the hotel owners, and they take him near the haunted room. With a lot of courage, he steps inside, but after being away from ghost hunting for so long, he can't fight like he used to. The ghost in that room attacks him and throws him out. To get away from Jin, Off cooks her favorite food. He's just about to serve it to her when his uncle suddenly walks in. Off quickly pushes Jin outside the door because if his uncle sees her, it'll be a huge problem. Off's uncle ends up eating all the food that Off prepared for Jin, but Off secretly saved a little portion just for her. Jin sees that and becomes really happy, but Off's uncle notices and asks, "Who are you saving that food for?" Off quickly lies and says, "For our cat." His uncle doesn't ask anything else and goes to sleep, because after fighting that ghost, his whole body hurts. The next morning, the scene shows Off arriving at college for class. Jin comes with him. The two juniors follow Off into the same classroom and sit there. They've decided they must recruit Off, no matter what. They set up their camera and start recording. Jin keeps taking Off's pen again and again, but on camera, only the floating pen is visible, and Off looks like he's talking to thin air. When they watch this being recorded, the juniors are shocked. They have no idea what's going on. After class, Off and Jin are walking together when a hotel owner calls. It's the same hotel where Off's uncle got beaten by a ghost. The owner offers Off a lot of money if he can get rid of a ghost in one of the rooms. Hearing the money offer, Off agrees. That night, Jin and Off go to the hotel. The two juniors secretly follow them. Meanwhile, Off's uncle realizes he left something in that hotel room. When Off and Jin enter the room, a female ghost attacks Jin and slams her against the wall by her hair. As soon as Jin gets close to the ghost, she sees the woman's past. Her husband used to beat her brutally in that hotel room. One day, he killed her himself. Even now, she hasn't escaped her husband, which is why her spirit still roams there. Suddenly, the husband's ghost appears. He attacks Off, but Jin jumps in to protect him. She spots the man's weak point and tells Off where to hit. Off strikes the man's weak point, his chest, and the husband's spirit vanishes. The woman's spirit is finally freed. The two juniors were hiding the whole time, recording everything. Now they're absolutely sure that Off can see ghosts. They rush out toward the stairs, and right then, Off's uncle arrives, heading to that same room to retrieve the item he left behind. Hearing someone come, Off's uncle panics and and runs away. Jin and Off finished their work and were standing outside on the side of the road. Off praised Jin and said, "If you weren't here today, I would have never learned anything about that woman's past, and I wouldn't have come back alive like this." Then, while talking, Off asked Jin, "Why were you following me everywhere that day just to hug me over and over?" Jin said, "Whenever I kiss you, memories from the day I died suddenly come back." Right then, Off suddenly hugged Jin tightly. Jin was shocked and speechless. Off asked her, "Did you see anything this time?" But Jin was so stunned that no memories came back to her at all. On the other hand, Off also started to feel something strange inside. The scene shifts to a restaurant where Jin has come to meet her friend. Jin tells her friend, "Off kissed me, but I didn't remember anything. I'm really worried why that happened." Jin's friend says, "Before I died, I had one big wish to always stay beside my crush and sit on his shoulder. That never happened while I was alive, so now, as a ghost, I'm fulfilling that wish." Saying this, she takes Jin to her crush. Jin becomes shocked seeing how her friend is literally sitting on the guy's shoulder, and her spirit follows him everywhere he goes. Jin's friend tells Jin to do the same so that all her forgotten memories will come back. Jin really likes this idea. So she decides in her heart that from now on, she will follow Off everywhere so her past will slowly return. At college, Jin sat next to Off and watched him prepare for his exam. Jin told Off, "Maybe I couldn't take my exam before I died. That's why I'm still stuck as a ghost now." Saying this, she begged Off to help her take an exam again. Off couldn't refuse Jin anymore. So Off took Jin to the supermarket to buy all the supplies she needed for her exam. While they were there, Jin's eyes went to a red dress that looked very beautiful. She begged Off to buy that dress for her because she had been wearing the same dress for many years, but Off refused. Jin became angry and stormed out of the store. The scene shifts to a boy's house. The boy was a huge fan of a celebrity. One day, he suddenly saw that many ugly rumors were spreading about the celebrity he liked. Because of this, he fell into depression and ended his own life. Later, it was discovered that one of the people who wrote those bad comments was Sadako. She had written nasty things about that celebrity as a joke. To take revenge, the fanboy ghost came to Sadako's house. The fanboy's spirit killed Sadako. At that moment, the two juniors had also come to Sadako's house to beat her up, but when they entered Sadako's room, they found her already lying dead. Seeing this, the two of them became very scared. Just then, the police arrived and took them away. After investigation, the police discovered that the two juniors did not actually kill Sadako. The fanboy did, because Sadako died in the exact same way the fanboy had died. So, the police released the two juniors. The two juniors came back to their apartment and realized the fanboy ghost killed Sadako. So, he might kill us too, because we also made rude comments about that celebrity. Thinking this terrified them even more. Just then, the fanboy appeared in front of them and started attacking them. At that moment, Jin appeared and tried to calm the fanboy down. But instead, the fanboy started attacking Jin. Right then, Off arrived and started fighting the fanboy. Jin suddenly saw images from the fanboy's past, where it showed that when he was alive, he really loved that celebrity. He even hung pictures of that celebrity on his wall. His father hated all of this and always fought with him about it. Then Jin grabbed the boy's hand, and through teleportation, she took him to his parents. After the boy died, his father and mother had become very heartbroken. Then the celebrity herself arrived there, because she knew a fan had died because of her. She was only acting to show sympathy in front of everyone. But the fanboy's father threw her out because she was the reason his son died. Seeing this, the fanboy spirit became very angry at his father. Jin then teleported the fanboy spirit again. At that moment, his spirit finally became free. Afterward, Jin was sitting beside Off with a sad face. When Off asked what happened, Jin said she was thinking a lot about her mother and started crying. Seeing this, Off wiped away her tears. Professor Zed saw some kittens in front of his house. A girl was feeding them. Seeing the kittens, Professor Zed went to pet them, but the kittens scratched him instead. Blood started coming from his hand. Then he left the place. That night, when the girl came to check on the kittens, she discovered that Professor Zed had killed them. She couldn't understand why he would do that. Scared, she ran away. Professor Zed's eyes were pitch black. No one could tell if he was a ghost or something else entirely. The scene shifts to Off's house. When Off entered his room, he saw Jin sleeping on his bed because she had become exhausted after fighting with the fanboy spirit. When Jin woke up, she discovered she was wearing the red dress she liked. Seeing this, she became very happy. Jin realized Off actually bought the dress for her. Then she wore the dress to show Off. Off looked at her with admiration. Right then, Off received a phone call from a client. the landlord kicked the two juniors out of their apartment because they couldn't pay the rent. They had survived the fanboy spirit, but now they had nowhere to live. Then they went to a spiritual expert and got the address of a house. The rent was very cheap, but when they arrived, they realized that house was also haunted. Meanwhile, Jin and Off were outside when they met Jin's friend. Jin's friend told Jin that since Off bought her a new dress, she thinks Off probably likes Jin. Hearing this made Jin happy, but when she went to Off's college, she saw Namwon talking to Off, and that made her feel really bad. She became very jealous. Just then, Professor Zed arrived there. He looked at Jin and told her to move aside. Jin was shocked because only Off was supposed to see her. This made Jin wonder why Professor Zed could see her. She told Off, but Off didn't take it seriously. At that moment, Off received a call from the two juniors. They offered him a lot of money to get rid of a ghost from their new house. Hearing the money, Off agreed and set out for their place. Jin was drunk and acting wild, because when Jin wasn't around, she went digging through the storeroom and found a beautiful pair of shoes. Those shoes belonged to Off's mother. Without thinking, Jin put them on. Seeing this, Off became furious. Ever since his mother died, Off kept all of her things very carefully. Seeing Jin wear them hurt him deeply. And then the story shows a flashback from Off's childhood. When Off was little, he loved his mother more than anything. Like every day, his mother came to stand at the school gate to pick him up. Just then, a dark shadow came and caused Off's mother to have a car accident right in front of his eyes. From childhood, Off could see ghosts. Because of the way his mother died, he completely broke down. That dark shadow would even chase him around at school. The other students thought Off was strange, so Off completely isolated himself. He even ate lunch alone. Lost in these memories, Off remembered he had to go somewhere, so he left, and before going, he told Jin not to follow him. As soon as he stepped outside, he started thinking about Jin again. At that moment, the two juniors called him, so he went back inside to get Jin, but he couldn't find her anywhere. A little further ahead, he saw Jin had been drinking a lot, so he had no choice but to take her out just like that. Off took Jin and went to meet the juniors. Off and Jin sat together at the dining table and were eating. Just then, Off got a message from the juniors. They had sent Off money for the job he did the night before. Jin asked Off, "What are you going to do with so much money?" Jin thought he would use it to fulfill his wishes, but Off said, "I want eye surgery so that I never see ghosts again. I really hate seeing ghosts." Hearing that made Jin feel terrible. She thought maybe Off didn't want to see her either. Meanwhile, the two juniors were very happy after getting money. They started partying together. Just then, one of them accidentally deleted all the videos they had recorded last night and every other video they made before. When they realized what happened, they tried to recover the files, but by mistake they burned the recovery file too. So they decided if they want to earn money, they must get Off on their team. So, they kept following Off everywhere this time. They wanted to recruit him. Off went to the hospital to get a checkup for his eye surgery. The doctor gave him 6 months. The surgery would be done after 6 months. He told Jin about it. Hearing that made Jin very sad. Off also felt bad for Jin. Then Jin decided to disappear from Off's life and go somewhere far away. When Jin met her friend said, "I've been thinking about my crush so much." Hearing that, Jin scolded her and said, "You're dead now. Why are you still chasing your crush? Why didn't you confess when you were alive?" Her friend replied, "Love isn't trapped between living and dying. Even after death, you can stay beside the person you love during their happy and sad moments." Hearing that made Jin feel better. Jin thought she would stay beside Off forever. Meanwhile, the two juniors brought papers to Off because they wanted Off to sign a contract with them, but Off rejected them instantly. However, when Namwon was talking to Off, the juniors realized Namwon was actually Off's crush. So they met Namwon and told her everything about paranormal activity and convinced her to join their group. They thought this would make it easier to get Off on their team. Meanwhile, Jin was shown coming to Off to apologize because she left him at the hospital earlier. Off, Namwon, and Professor Zed came to dinner together. Professor Zed kept staring strangely toward the door. He could actually see Jin, and Jin was shocked that Zed could see her. Later at home, Jin told Off that maybe Professor Zed could see her, meaning he could see ghosts. But Off again didn't take it seriously. Meanwhile, Professor Zed started keeping an eye on Off. He even followed Off all the way to his house. Then Off got another call from the juniors. They had gone to a house to drive out a ghost and told Off to come there too. Off agreed to go. Off took Jin and entered that house, and they saw the spirit of a child. Jin entered the child's spirit and learned that the child's father used to beat him all the time. One day, the father kept hitting him until he died. Even now, the father's spirit wouldn't leave the child alone. Jin told Off the father's weak spot. Off followed Jin's instructions and defeated the spirit. Then the child's spirit met his mother and was set free. Seeing this made Off remember his mother too. Off loved his mother very much. But after she died, all the kids at school could tell Off could see ghosts. They used to call him Ghost Boy and make fun of him, which really hurt Off. So he never mixed with anyone. He had no friends. Slowly, he started living alone all the time. Meanwhile, Professor Zed could also see ghosts like Off. But one look at his eyes told you he was no normal person. The scene shifts to a forest. Some hunters came there to camp. One hunter saw a chicken there, so he pulled out his gun to hunt it. As he aimed and shot at the chicken suddenly turned into a human. Seeing this terrified the hunter. He felt pity, so he went closer to the man. But after some time, they realized that man was actually a ghost, disguised as a chicken. One by one, the ghost killed all the hunters. The next morning, police found a girl's body in the forest. They found an ID beside her body. From that, they learned which school the girl went to. Meanwhile, Off and Jin were shown sleeping together. When they woke up, they were shocked to see each other so close. After a while, Off got ready and left the house. That day was Off's mother's death anniversary. Off went with his uncle to pay respects to his mother. Off was very upset because his father didn't come to honor his mother, but all Off could do was be angry with him. A little later, Jin saw Off feeling sad and started telling small jokes to cheer him up. Off and Jin had developed a very strong bond, and Jin managed to make Off smile. The two juniors became so rich after their first success that they were able to fix every shortage in their room and their lives. Because of that, they were both very happy. But they still had one thing on their minds. If they wanted to go even further in life, they absolutely had to get Off on their team. That's why they needed to build a good bond with him. So they planned a trip. Then they started worrying about how they were going to convince Off to join them. The two of them went to Off and invited him to go on the trip, but Off refused. A little while later, Off found out that the juniors had already convinced Namwon to go on the trip with them. Because of that, Off agreed to go too. They went to the same forest where a ghost had killed a group of hunters. Off and the others decided to take a shortcut while exploring the forest. That ghost kept its eyes on them from a distance. They eventually reached a river. Off and Namwon decided they would row a boat together. Seeing this made Jin really angry, so she used her wits and managed to get on the boat with Off as well. Later, while everyone was eating, Jin kept bothering Namwon over and over. The truth was, Jin loved Off deeply, and she couldn't stand seeing anyone else at his side. Nearby, the two juniors were fishing. The one named Lang went to the restroom. As Lang was walking toward the restroom, the ghost quietly followed behind him. Lang tripped over something and fell hard to the ground, then screamed loudly. Hearing this, Jin went there. When Lang saw Jin, he became even more terrified. But Jin found it funny and exciting because she realized that besides Off, there was someone else who could see her. Lang went back and told everyone about Jin. When the police officer questioned Professor Zed about the missing girl, the professor said he didn't know anything. But the officers were suspicious of him because they had seen cat scratch marks on his hands. So they sent a plainclothes officer to secretly follow Professor Zed. Realizing this, Professor Zed killed that officer. After that, he went to Off's house because he suspected Off. There, the professor killed a ghost that was living in Off's home. Professor Zed could not only see ghosts, he could kill them too. Later that night, everyone was sitting outside the campfire and chatting together. They asked Namwon about her crush. Namwon told everyone that she liked someone. Hearing that completely broke Off's heart. The next morning, another group of people arrived deep in the forest. Namwon was taking some photos when the ghost suddenly attacked her. Off saw this and rushed in to save her. But by then, the ghost had already weakened Namwon a lot. Jin also came to save Namwon. But when Off saw Jin there, he thought she had come again just to bother Namwon. So Off started scolding Jin. But Jin hadn't done anything wrong. They started arguing. Upset, Jin left and went to sit alone on a tree branch. Off went back to his group. There, the leader of the other group told Off that there was a ghost in this forest that looked like a tiger. Meanwhile, the ghost saw Jin sitting alone, and it took on Off's appearance and appeared in front of her. It tried to trick Jin and trap her, but Jin was able to see into the ghost's past. She learned that, when it was alive, this man had done terrible things in his life. He treated women very badly. Just then, the spirit attacked Jin. At that moment, Off arrived. He showed up at exactly the right time and rescued Jin. Off realized that everything Jin had been telling him was true. Then the two of them worked together to free the spirit. In the process, Jin became very weak. Off grew extremely worried about her. Meanwhile, when Off's uncle came home, he saw Professor Zed walking out of the house. As the professor passed by him, Off's uncle felt a horrible, dark feeling inside. It scared him badly. The scene shifts to the home of a schoolgirl. Her parents were very worried about her studies. Her mother was always scolding her. Because of this, one day the girl decided to jump off the roof. Just as she was about to jump, she saw a ghost appear in front of her. The ghost protected the girl and stopped her. Meanwhile, while Jin was sleeping, she saw her past. Jin saw that when she died in the accident, someone had come up to her dead body. That person was searching through her bag. It looked like he had hidden something in Jin's bag earlier, something very important to him. When Jin woke up, she told Off that she wasn't feeling well. To comfort her, Off said he would help Jin find out the truth about her past. On the other side, the two juniors were thinking about how to grow their business. They decided to go to Lang's grandmother because she was very rich. They went to her to ask for financial help. Lang's grandmother was very happy to see Lang, but when she saw his friend, she got annoyed. Even though she didn't want to, she still invited Lang's friend to stay for dinner. During dinner, Lang told his grandmother everything about their project. Hearing this made Lang's grandmother very angry, and she kicked Lang's friend out of the house. Off's uncle hadn't seen Off's father for a long time, so he went to his house to meet him, but he couldn't find Off's father there. One of the neighbors told Off's uncle that a young man had come looking for Off's father. That young man had asked the neighbor about Off's father, using Off's name. The young man who came to the neighbor was actually Professor Zed. Meanwhile, Professor Zed was at his office going through Off's father's phone. Off's father had come to the professor's office earlier to look for something, and in that office he had seen a family photo. Off's father became a bit suspicious. But before he could do anything about it, Professor Zed killed him. Later, when Off's uncle visited Off's house, Off asked his uncle, "What happens to a spirit when it forgets its memories?" Off's uncle replied, "A spirit that forgets its past can never be reborn." Jin overheard this, and she became very, very worried. When Jin went to Off's college, she ran into her ghost friend there. Jin told her friend about her feelings. Jin said that whenever she looks at Off, her chest starts trembling and her heartbeat gets faster. Jin's friend told her that she has fallen in love with Off. That's why she feels this way whenever Off is beside her. Hearing this made Jin very shy, because she had noticed the same thing for a while. Meanwhile, police officers were questioning Namwon about the missing girl. They were trying to find out where the girl was last seen. Namwon said the girl was last seen with her boyfriend. Professor Zed was secretly listening to all of this from a distance. A short time later, the police officers found CCTV footage showing the girl running for her life. In that footage, there was no sign of the professor. But somehow, the police obtained one more clip where they saw Professor Zed walking toward the girl. After getting scolded by Lang's grandmother, the two juniors still managed to get some money from her. Then they started thinking about expanding their business again. At that time, they received a message from a woman. She wanted them to get rid of a ghost from her daughter's body. Lang and his friend agreed to do the job. The daughter was the same girl who almost jumped from the roof before a ghost saved her. The two juniors prepared themselves and went to that apartment. They even made new outfits for their ghost hunting team. Off and Jin also joined them for this job. Off wore a matching uniform, but Jin didn't get one because she was a ghost. Jin kept begging Off for a uniform, but Off ignored her and went straight to drive the ghost away. They entered the girl's room and could tell she loved studying. Jin and Off began fighting with the ghost inside her. Jin entered the girl's inner spirit and saw her past. Jin saw that before she died, the girl never focused on school. Her mother forced her to study. One day, when her mother scolded her for getting bad grades, the girl got angry and walked in front of a car. That's how she died. At the right moment, Off punched the spirit and forced it out of the girl's body. Then the girl's mother came and hugged her daughter. The spirit saw this too. She remembered her mother and realized how much her mother must have suffered after her death. The ghost finally left her body and was set free. When Off's team finished the job, they left. But Lang started becoming suspicious of Off because he couldn't understand how Off could communicate with ghosts. Jin was still thinking about what Off's uncle said. Suddenly, Jin saw a commercial on TV for an amusement park. She got very excited. Off promised to take Jin to the amusement park. Meanwhile, Jin's ghost friend went searching for Professor Zed and ended up at his office. At the same time, Professor Zed came to his office and saw Jin's friend there and started walking toward her. Jin's friend felt like Professor Zed could actually see her, but she wasn't completely sure, so she disappeared. Off was leaving his college when he ran into Namwon. Namwon asked Off to go out for dinner, but Off refused. He then left to meet Jin. Right at that moment, Namwon had an accident. Off forgot everything about the amusement park and rushed Namwon to the hospital. Meanwhile, Jin met her ghost friend. Jin's friend told Jin that she thought Professor Zed could see her. Jin agreed, because she also felt that Professor Zed could see her. Then Jin went to the amusement park to wait for Off, but Off didn't show up. When Off found out Namwan was completely safe, he didn't waste any time and quickly went to Jin. He told Jin about Namwan's accident. Hearing that, Jin felt a little happy, because even in the middle of chaos, Off didn't forget to come see her. But when Off got home, Jin was still very angry at him. Off went to Jin and shared his feelings. Off told Jin that he liked her very much. Jin finally told Off her feelings too. She told him that she loved him a lot. Then the two of them hugged each other tightly and began crying. Meanwhile, Professor Zed killed Han, because Han had told the police everything about the professor. At the same time, Jin's ghost friend reached Professor Zed's office to investigate him. She found some photos of Off there, but before she could do anything, Professor Zed arrived. He killed Jin's friend too. The two juniors were looking through the photos from their trip. Lang saw Jin in the photos, the girl he always thought was an angel. After seeing this, he showed the photos to Off. Off told them, Jin really is a ghost. Hearing that, both of the juniors were shocked.
What is the real truth behind Jin's death? Why is Zed killing ghosts? Will Off go through with his eye surgery and stop seeing spirits forever? And in the end, will Off be able to save Jin? Or will he lose her forever? To find out the answers to all these questions, we'll have to wait for Season 2.